Welcome back to Crypto Verdict. I am host the game show of Crypto Verdict, and every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we bring this game show to you. And if you're wondering, is that a dragonfly behind me? You would be correct. So I'm currently in Mexico. You see a little bit of difference, but over here, and we got a couple new guests in this live show that I want to bring up here, and I'll explain the rules as I bring them up here. So first of all, we have Doc, we have KIR Finance, we have Millie, we have Max, and then we have Shook Focus. Maybe you've tuned into a couple of these game shows. They're super fun. We're trying to bring in that around the blockchain vision that was just missed last bull market. We want the game show vibes. We want crypto to be entertaining and fun. And what better way than to make 10 bold statements? So across the next hour and a half, I'm going to bring these different statements to these guests. They're going to say either agree, strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. And from there, we're going to have the debates. And we'll try to keep it civil this time. The last episode was fun. And if you missed it, you'll have to definitely go back and definitely tune in there. But again, Monday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, Crypto Verdict. How are you doing today, Shook?
Doing fantastic. Glad to be here.
All right, Millie, how you doing, brother?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready to talk crypto, man. It's always a good day when you get a chance to talk crypto.
There you go. And I'm super excited to bring in Jesse from KIR Finance. How you
How's
doing?
it going? Yeah, glad to be here like everybody else. Rob dusted me off the mothballs of crypto history, and I'm ready to go. So I'm psyched.
All righty. Start placing y'all's bets, by the way. All right, Max, what you got?
Hey, I'm just glad to be here. I was not here on Monday. Glad to be back.
Yeah, we missed you, brother. We had a very good episode on Monday, and we're gonna do it better this time. So, Doc, how you doing, brother?
Hey, happy to be here. Great crew here. Jesse, welcome. Friday Eve. I'm ready for our episode tonight.
All right, and all of us are mostly simulcasting, so you can respond to any of the comments on YouTube. Basically, it's 1 if you strongly agree, it's 2 if you just agree, 3 if you disagree, and then 4 if you strongly disagree. So the idea is to get the crypto verdict done. So Rob, he's in the back, Crypto Future 99. At the end, he will come through and he'll give the overall winner of just the different debates, who presented the best information, and also who won the most polls. So we're trying to get you guys to buy into the vision through that polling system. So make sure you subscribe to all 6 of us that are up here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, we have Bitcoin. Everybody loves this asset. Now, this first statement is Bitcoin will become the world's dominant reserve asset within the next 20 years. Just for quick clarity, this means it's going to surpass gold. And we're talking 20 years, 2 decades. Shook, what you got?
Strongly disagree.
All right. Millie?
I disagree as well.
All right. Jesse?
Disagree.
Oh, also the polling system, sometimes it may be a little bit over somebody's face. We're going to move it around. We're still we're in beta phase, y'all. Give us a little bit of, all right, Max, what you got?
Put it over Millie's face.
Oh, man.
Right.
I can drink my energy drink now.
If you're losing, you're getting the poll.
Yeah, I strongly disagree.
Alrighty, strongly disagree. And then Doc.
Yeah, I gotta agree with my 2 guys, Shook and Max. I strongly disagree as well, and I love me some Bitcoin, but strongly disagree.
Yeah. Okay. So whenever I was doing this question, I was thinking maybe I push it to 30 years, but I still don't think it's going to change. I think the biggest thing is going to be gold. This thing's been around for a very long time. Again, I am the host. So I'm not going to try to get too into this game show and kind of give you guys the floor. But it seems like Doc, Max, and Shook, these are the guys that strongly disagree. And they let's go ahead and go with Doc first, since you answered last.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're all here. We love the crypto space. I think we can collectively agree that Bitcoin really is a life-changing asset class in and of itself, right? It's paving the way for a lot of the altcoin projects that we love talking about. Gold right now, it has roughly a $30 trillion market cap. And if you look at its CAGR, and the math that I did is since Bitcoin started, if you project that out 20 years, you're like 175 trillion ish, give or take, right? Because we're projecting so far out in advance. Bitcoin right now has a market cap of 1.2 ish trillion, right? It floats, give or take, 100 million or so, or excuse me, 100 billion or so. So just for it to reach where gold is right now, we're like a 25x, and that is without gold moving at all. We've also recently seen that China has been stacking gold at an alarming rate. They've actually made it more difficult to trade gold futures, paper gold, because they're trying to stack as much gold as they physically can. So I guess the thing that I will lead with is, just because the world reserve currency will probably likely be gold in the next 20 years, I think Bitcoin is a phenomenal asset class to be allocated to for potential outsized returns if you can time the market cycles.
Okay, let me ask you this, because for a brief moment, it did surpass silver. If I said 40 years, Bitcoin reserve, biggest asset in the world, 40 years, what would you say?
I would probably still say gold, just based off the current trajectory. And because I was thinking about it, what if we did 50? What if we did? And I just think gold has that, I hate using this phrase, but like a first mover advantage in that sense as a store of value.
Sure.
But again, I think that we can have some outsized returns if you just plan based off some really basic market cycles.
All right, Max, you strongly disagree as well. You think Bitcoin will not become the global reserve currency or asset. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, I share a lot of the same common ground as Doc on that. I also believe that Bitcoin's volatility, you gotta reference that, whether it's a 4-year cycle or not, because we look at that limited payment utility, it makes it like a speculative store of value. I know people throw that term around a lot. And if we look at some of these other things, I mean, it just seems as though, when does that break? Will it ever break? Some people say, well, it will break with utility run. Maybe that ends up being beneficial, maybe it doesn't, but I kind of share the same sentiment as Doc. I'm not going to even try to debate it even that much more further. As far as the whole gold thing, he could be onto something with that. I mean, we've seen, obviously, central banks and countries, especially BRICS countries, have been loading up, obviously, on gold, and they've been doing that at record highs. In fact, they've been doing it ever since 2014. Do you find that to be an interesting year, considering the invasion of Crimea back then? And they're still doing it, right? When we look at what some of these other countries are doing, that's exactly what they're doing. So, yeah, I don't have anything a little bit more to add to that other than what I just mentioned.
Sure. And Shook, let's go ahead and get your take, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next question.
Yeah, really quick. Institutions being able to swing the sentiment of Bitcoin the way that they have, people are going to lose trust in that. We saw that very recently with the MicroStrategy thing. And when you look at the planning of the new economy, precious metals in general is the bulk need for all of it. And I think we see price increases in precious metals as this builds out. Bitcoin, maybe as we get to the other side of the build out, maybe people turn back to Bitcoin, but we got to get there first.
All right. These were all really good takes. There has been nobody on the polling yet, so maybe people are still tuning in now. We're trying to get those people to, oh, actually, there it goes. All right. So agree is slightly, this is a lot closer than I thought it would. All right, but real quick, KAR and Millie, since y'all didn't do like strongly agree or strongly disagree, typically we'll just like move through. But if you have like more to throw on this, the floor is yours, because that's a close poll. You might be able to sway these people.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised that it was that high. My thing is, it's not only the volatility, is that, countries don't hold these reserve assets or currencies to get rich. They need them to defend something. So if a crisis happens, like Max said, because of Bitcoin's volatility, do you really trust that stopping the gap? And also 34% of all Bitcoin sits in addresses that's already have exposed keys. So the whole quantum threat, right? Not that it could take over the network or anything, but just the fact of the matter is, if that lock gets picked, I mean, do you really want that type of asset to be your stopgap? So you know, no matter how bullish I am on Bitcoin, those two things alone, I wouldn't think countries would have that as their top reserve asset. That's just like my 2 cents there.
That's true. And right before we go to you, Jesse, yeah, my bet would be, you know, those locks get picked, those crypto locks get picked way before Fort Knox is getting picked. So, you know, that gold seems pretty safe down there. KAR, what you got?
My take's a little bit different. I do disagree, but I remember I did an analysis on this at one point of kind of like, did we really miss like the Bitcoin gold rush? Yes or no? And what I came to was that the real Bitcoin gold rush was between now and about 2035. And the reason why is the supply that's getting unlocked, and then it really gets exponentially smaller from there. So my point in this one was I thought the time window was just too small. And in the meantime, I think, you know, Bitcoin sometimes gets bad press for these hacks and these things that, you know, are making news stories recently, that it's really hard to overcome that in a short cycle. So I do think it could pass it. I don't think it's happening in 20 years.
All right. And, you know, all 6 of us, we all agree on this. The consensus is, and I'm sure if we asked Rob right now about this, he would definitely disagree. He probably wouldn't think, but this is the first time we asked these questions. Everybody gave their takes, and we still couldn't sway these people in the polls. Maybe they're smarter than we are. But that being said, let's go ahead and go into this next question. Ethereum has already won the smart contract platform race. So like we know the smart contract war, it's been heating up. We got BNBs like the copy and paste of Ethereum. It wasn't really able to triumph, but now we got Solana. We have these faster networks in a sense that don't have to offload to like their L2s and stuff like that to scale. Has Ethereum already won the quote unquote smart contract race? Shook, what you got? You're muted, Shook.
Strongly agree.
Ooh, okay. All right, Millie?
Strongly disagree.
Got some smoke going. KIR. Let's get it, Jesse.
I strongly agree with Shook.
Strongly agree with Shook, who said strongly agree. All right. And Max?
So for everybody here, the question is if it has already done that. So I have to strongly agree. But is there disruptors? Yes, clearly. Stellar, XDC. Strongly agree.
Strongly agree. And then Doc?
I am going to go against my normal strong takes on things. I'm going to just say agree.
All right. So Doc's playing it safe. He knows he has some smoke in these later questions, so he's not going to throw his ammo out there.
Yes, I do.
Hey, we got a 3-on-1 going on here. Jesse, Max, Shook. Y'all all strongly agree. Millie, they're jumping you, brother.
I know, man.
Your back's against the wall. Go ahead and defend it.
So I think that the race is actually 3 races to be fair. So I think Ethereum has won the trust race, right? If you're going to tokenize something like a bond, but Ethereum hasn't taken firm control of the entire race. You know, like when you think about retail, Solana has that on lock right now, right? Solana, like I use Solana as it feels like invisible infrastructure. It's just from using money, right? And then the economy race, right? I never seen anybody in real life be like, oh, I'm about to use Ethereum for anything. So like, it's hard for me to say Ethereum has won any race. I mean, Bitcoin has 56% dominance. And when Ethereum pushed a lot of their load to those L2s, it lost a lot of that profitability because those fees now just go straight through the L2. So I think, you know, there's 3 races. I think Ethereum just has won from a trust perspective, but as far as retail and from a, you know, pure economy perspective, I can't have Ethereum winning that race.
I hear you. I mean, that's some good takes. Shook, I see you're nodding your head yes, but you answered no. What's going on?
Because I had to agree with a lot of what he said there. There's a lot of new kids on the block, and you know, Solana, these are things that are challenging, but until somebody cuts into the institutional trust, as he spoke of, I don't see anybody really stealing that smart contract race. The biggest banks have all been through Ethereum: JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BNY, Citi. and until one of these other chains can come and take that market share, I just don't see it happening.
All right, Jesse.
Yeah, so my take on this is basically I think Ethereum has that first mover advantage. And a long time ago, I used to just dunk on Ethereum that I hated it. It was slow. It was terrible. It was all these things, and there were all these better chains out there. But the reality is that first mover advantage is a strong thing. I think they still got it today. And just personally, on like a personal finance side, I've seen it in the real world where when you're looking at a chain, what are you going to do? And most people lean towards Ethereum and they pair it up with Arbitrum. So that's why I would say strongly agree on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And then let's go ahead and throw it over to Max for this last take.
All right, so the question, the way it's wrapped up, Ethereum has already won the smart contract platform race, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. It's done that. And when you look at Ethereum itself, think about ERC20. That is a smart contract platform built on Ethereum. Yes, a lot of meme coins are basically deployed from that. But going from here, it's understanding, again, some set standards that are based off of ERC20. A good example would be XDC with XDC20, XRC20, all right? We know that XDC is a fork of Ethereum. We also know it's a fork of Quorum. Let's throw in Stellar into the mix. Stellar has Sorbonne smart contracts. And basically speaking, what is that? Well, you have some Rust, you have some WASM. I don't know if you guys have studied that, but that's existed into, or integrated, I should say, into Stellar. Emphasize performance, sustainability, obviously the low fees. So when I talk about the disruptors moving forward, yeah, these ones could very, very well disrupt it. So if the question, which it is if it currently is Ethereum that's already won it, then yes, clearly it has won that. But you guys know me, I cover a lot of quant. What does quant base their smart contract platform of QRC20 off of? Again, it's back from ERC20. So clearly they have won that. There is definitely going to be the disruptors. And if you combine that, obviously, with what Stellar is going to do in mid-2027 with DTCC, my God, you will finally see an influx of smart contracts being deployed left and right. I'll be so glad that a whole thing's like Stellar, because last I saw, I will treat finally Stellar with XLM as that ETH, right? Except for it'll be XLM. And I'll treat some of their smart contracts that are Sorbonne based as what? Just that, the smart contracts. So those smart contracts are going to go on to DTCC. We're talking about tokenizing the stock market and then some. Last I checked, the Dean Chakar said quadrillions. So that is a little bit of a double-edged sword question. You do that a lot, Crux. I appreciate it, and that's okay. But that's my answer.
All right. Hey, there's some really good takes there. I think my favorite was like the adoption piece. Sorry, there's a bell going on. Can y'all hear that in the background? Hopefully not. All right. So my favorite was the adoption piece mixed with the first mover that Jesse was talking about with like Nick Szabo. He started creating the smart contracts, but all these networks, they failed. Same with a peer-to-peer network like Bitcoin. It wasn't the first digital ledger, but it was the one that got adopted. So I definitely like all of those takes. Rob, could you go ahead and throw those answers up there? Wow, super close. So that is about 66 for the strongly agree. Ethereum, it hit escape velocity. And you guys, that would be Jesse, Max, and Shook. You took the dub on that one. Now, we got a couple super chats coming in. And let's go ahead and throw this first one up there from a big supporter of the channel. That is Elon Muff. I think tokenized Bitcoin will be bigger than XRP. So tokenized in quotes, interesting. Maybe he's talking about wrapped Bitcoin. I don't know exactly. Does anybody know what that would be? Like a tokenized Bitcoin? Or maybe he just thinks Bitcoin will continue to be bigger than XRP.
No, I think he's. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Doc,
Max.
sorry.
No, go ahead, Max. Sorry.
I think you guys are missing the point. He says tokenized Bitcoin will be bigger, and then he's like ... XRP. So the reference, at least in my opinion, because I know this guy, he's my own personal friend. It's back to the original question, like what will be their future reserve asset? Well, again, we could throw in a lot of things of XRP, but I think he's literally going with XRP is going to be the world's reserve currency. But the question was asset currency. I get the point, but I honestly think that's where he's going with that.
Sure. Okay, understandably. Thank you, Elon Muff.
Yep, thank
We
you.
have another contestant. Hey, Rue. I just dropped a collab with Rue. Make sure you check it out today. Thank you for supporting with the super chat 777. That looks very specific. Maybe he wants one of these contestants to take over the dub. Also, LFG guys. So Rue with the double tap 777 double tap. We're seeing a little bit of thank you for the exposure. And then lastly, we got Derek, who has 67 jewels. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what all these jewels mean on YouTube. Thank you a lot, Derek, for supporting this channel. Also, if you want to throw in a super chat with a question, we will throw out number 11. So you can surprise all the contestants. We haven't studied that one, and maybe you can confuse some of us. So we are not perfect. We're just pretty good at what we do. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the question number 3. This one looks pretty fun. Meme coins are a net positive for crypto. Again, meme coins are a net positive for crypto. Shook, you're laughing. What you got?
I gotta strongly disagree.
All right, strongly disagree. Millie?
Strongly agree.
Okay, we got some. Y'all are not liking each other today. Matt, Shook and Millie. All right, Jesse.
Strongly disagree.
Dang, you guys are strongly. All right, Max.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. Man, Millie, you're getting jumped, brother.
I
All
love
right,
it.
Doc.
You got support coming in, Millie. I strongly agree that meme coins are a net positive.
All right, so
Doc.
everybody's going at it on this one. Let's hear a combination of Millie and Doc first, and then y'all three can knock their tower down.
So I'm gonna
start with it. Get us going.
Okay, all right, let's get it. So I'm gonna agree, but I'm also gonna understand that it could be bad for new retail who invest in them as far as timing. But I'm saying that to say this is good for the industry, right? So both can be said. Yeah, the meme coins bring in millions of dollars in fees, users, adoption. Almost everybody that I've talked to in the 2020, 2021 era probably got into crypto because of a meme coin. So like, and let's be honest, meme coins are just as risky as anybody putting leverage on Bitcoin or creating a stock of that. Meme coins have this cool way of attracting people without revenue, total addressable market, none of the word salad, none of the hoop law. Is frictionless. It's easy for people to understand. And just like the last question, everybody was giving their take on Ethereum, but most of those takes were based on a crypto perspective. See, I like to step back and look at this a lens from actual retail and an adoption perspective. And there's no, I don't care what utility, none of that brings in more eyes into space than meme coins and community tokens.
That was a bold take. Loving it, Millie. Doc, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, my guy hit the nail on the head. Adoption, adoption, adoption. What a great way to bring new investors into the space. And some may scoff when I say the word investors, but what not a better place to learn about seed phrases, gas fees, slippage, smart contracts. Learn through memes, right? We all remember Elon Musk going on SNL talking about memes. And then here's the beautiful part. You get a taste of crypto. And then everybody watching here, they're gonna subscribe to my guys Shook and Millie and Jesse and Max and Crux and Big Rob and maybe even myself, and we're gonna help educate y'all about the space, right? So that you can mature in this market. So because of the adoption aspect alone and all of the things that Crypto Millie said so well, I think it is a net positive.
Yeah, so if you're just now tuning in, the statement is meme coins are a net positive. Doc just said, they are. Millie said they also are. And the other three, they disagree. I kind of like this little rivalry going on with Shook and with Millie. So I got to give it to Shook first, and then we'll go Jesse and Max.
Okay. Here's the thing. Yes, they do. Meme coins do push awareness of crypto, but in my opinion, they do not push understanding of crypto. You cannot call it a net positive because most people end up net negative. We talked about these utility coins. Talk about these utility coins dropping. Pepe, up to $11 billion market cap, now 1.1. Shiba Inu, 40 billion, is under 3 bill. Dogecoin, 70 billion, down to 10 billion.
We got to get some like gunshot sound effects. Yeah.
Like you can't, and most people, when they lose that kind of money or take that kind of financial loss coming in, they don't want anything else to do with the space. Now, the curious minds, they stick around, they find channels like ours, they dive deeper. But the average person, I would say no.
All right, Jesse, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say I think the meme coins are fun to gamble with. I agree they bring people in the door, and that's good. But equally, I think there's a lot of misleading stuff about them. There's a lot of bag holders at the end of the day, everybody holding their SHIB, and the team's anonymous. The supply is through the roof. There's nothing really long lasting there. And the irony is that Doge was created as a joke. And the only reason it ever took off to begin with was Elon got behind it. So personally, I'm not really a fan. And I've seen it on the venture side of things in kind of personal finance, where a lot of real world venture type companies do not back crypto projects, and it's specifically because of meme coins. So do I think they have a place? Yes, but could crypto maybe do a better job of putting them in that bucket and saying that there's other buckets here that are maybe different or meaningful in other ways? Probably. So that's kind of where I stand.
Great takes. I know Max, he was probably the fastest of the group to answer that question. I'm sure you have a bold take. What you got, Max?
Oh, geez, where do I start? I mean, for one, I do agree a lot with what Shook was sharing, but let's face it, it's also the whole idea of like the wash trading, the manipulation, liquidity pool inflation. I mean, how many projects do that, right? Again, the classic pump and dump. Yes, there is some meme projects. Don't get me wrong. They are labeled as commodities. They are literally your Shiba Inus. They are your Dogecoins, as brought up by Jesse. But come on, man. How many high influence influencers, no pun intended, promoted to give a so-called high return for these particular meme coins? I'm not talking necessarily about the ones on Robin, and there's some real good ones there apparently. So it shows artificial growth. It's kind of like the whole concept of maybe a bad one-night stand, right? It's like a hit it and quit it, which is a horrible analogy, but you need sustainability, right? You don't need a hit it and quit it, right? So I look at it as, if I'm going to be a serious investor, I need to seriously invest long-term stability. And I think when we talk about regulations moving forward, yeah, they recognize, guess what? There's a guy like Millie, and rightfully so. I love that you're doing well with projects like IF and whatnot. But when we talk about the ones where 95, maybe 99% of people got wrecked, yeah, you need to deviate yourself from the crypto Wild West. So how are you going to be able to do that? You need to be invested in projects that are going to have that long-term sustainability moving forward. And how much of your portfolio represents that? We talked about that, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, about what percentage should be basically meme, what should be maybe utility, maybe some, Bitcoin, you name it. But yeah, they generate a lot of short-term fees, volumes. But geez, I mean, that transfer of wealth, it does seem like a lot of times it transfers to a guy whose face you don't even see. Oh, let me go follow BS Toshi. Oh, who the heck is that? Oh, he's not doxxed. Well, to be fair, people will be pulling out, well, guess what? Last I checked, Satoshi's not doxxed, but people buy that. That is true. But one standard versus the other, 95 to 99% of people get wrecked for the most part on those memes. But yeah, we can find some of those gems and do well, and rightfully so. But for new people, let's face it, they're getting wrecked left and right.
From the wise words of Maximus Crypto, no need to look for a hit it and quit it. All right, so let's check out the polls, and I
feel like I got to defend myself. I don't really like that.
That is super close. We're about 50-50 on this one, y'all. So meme coins are net positive. Man, so everybody's already had the floor. Hey, Rob, could you just throw yourself up here, give your take on this one real quick, and let's break it.
So close.
This is outside of the game show. Maybe we could do that. Rob, are meme coins a net positive for crypto?
I got to go with Doc and Millie on this. I think that they are. I think that
Let's
they
get it.
onboard more people. I think that there would not have been as as aggressive 2021 cycle without Dogecoin and Shiba Inu that there was. It would not have been. It would have been very muted in comparison. They onboard a lot of people into crypto, and I think that it's understated how many people stick around in crypto and end up getting caught up on something like XRP or Cardano or something like Ethereum or something like that after getting initially in on meme coins. And I would also argue that it's probably pretty close to just as many people have been wrecked on utility plays as meme coin plays.
Wow, that was very good takes. Stick around. We'll hear your overall take of everything at the end. Let's go ahead and reset. Thank you, Big Rob, for breaking that down for us. And yeah, it was very close, 50-50. You know, with meme coins, not financial advice, but just be very careful with those, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and get caught up on these super chats real quick. We have a couple new ones. We have, ooh, I see a couple meme coins getting chilled in here. All right, so the first one we got Holin. After BNB Solana, the next GOAT runner, NFA, do your own research, not financial advice. The next GOAT runner, do y'all know, is this English? Maybe?
Yeah. I think my guy Ayo trolling. That's from my chat for sure. Ayo, what's good with
okay.
you, man? What you on, man?
Dang, like my IQ just like very volatile. All right. So Shiba Inu made me feel like a Bitcoin early holder. Hey, Shiba, back in 2020, 2021, that was a token. And here's the thing. Every bull market, like you got the Doge, you got the Shiba, you got the Pepe. What is the new, you know, what's it going to be this next bull market? I don't know. The chances are you're going to miss it. But if you hit it right, you can change your life. So let's keep on going through these super chats. You can sell a meme coin faster than a blue chip. It depends. So a lot of times the blue chips are on your Coinbases, your Krakens, etc. A lot of these degen meme coins, they're on like some weird DEX that has like no liquidity. So you're going to, especially if you have a lot of money in it, you're going to trigger some like slippage event or get hit with some fee, right? So I would definitely disagree with some of that, but it kind of depends. Some meme coins you can sell faster than blue chips. Let's keep going. Adopt Shiba Inu as a worldwide currency. Quick. All right, this dude is loving some Shiba. Not financial advice. The whole in. Okay, we got some jewels being dropped. Thank you for supporting. A ton of jewels. Wow. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into this very next question. So this one's quite a bit different than the meme coin. Let's get serious. Institutions are now the single most important driver of crypto prices. So we know MicroStrategy, actually, let's go ahead and just talk numbers. We know institutions own about 18% from the United States, China, to MicroStrategy, to all your favorites, you know, holders of stocks, Coinbase, etc. 65% or so is retail, from Satoshi to Crux to Shook to Jesse. We own the vast majority of Bitcoin. Now, do you think institutions are now the single most important driver of these prices? Shook, what you got?
Agree.
All right, Millie?
I disagree.
Jesse?
I am disagreeing on this one.
Max?
I strongly disagree.
And then Doc.
Gosh, I want to be a contrarian here so bad, but I'm also going to strongly disagree, but maybe more so on a technicality because it says now. I think in the future that could be different.
Yeah, so we got two strongly disagrees. We got one agree and two other people that just disagree. So it seemed like Doc, like you gave that little explanation at the end. You seemed the most convicted. Let's go ahead and expand just a little bit more on that. It seemed like you had a couple more words to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like retail, all of us watching, right? We are all part of retail. And we are an underrated portion of this asset class, right? You've seen the whole craze 2 cycles ago with the Doges, the Sheebs, Pepe, the Pengus. I know we're talking about memes, but you know, also real utility projects as well. Here's one interesting fact that I was just tidbit, a nugget for you, as some may say. JP Morgan Chase, the bank alone, and here is, I'm building out the argument as to why I think in the future, institutions will be one of the largest drivers for adoption, and specifically related to prices, is because JP Morgan, the bank, they process approximately $12 trillion in payments a day, with spikes as high as 15 to 18 trillion dollars per day. Now, obviously, JP Morgan, one of the largest banks out there, right? We just said not too long ago, Bitcoin has a market cap of like 1.2, 1.3 trillion right now. Obviously, the world is not ready for Web3 yet, but I think as more and more AI agents come on board, I know Ruel and I, we did a video that posted today. We were talking about AI agents, on how that is going to be a huge narrative, and payment will be via crypto. I think it's coming, but right now, I think retail adoption, we are here, we are strong, but watch out, because I think it's going to come here sooner than later.
All right. And I know we just covered Max's face, but Max, looks like you had the other strongly disagree. So again, the statement is institutions are now the single most important driver of crypto prices. You strongly disagree. Max, the floor is yours.
Yeah, 100% strongly disagree with that. If we're talking about currently speaking and not into the future, because the future, yeah, it will be the institutions. The question is basically right now, then yeah, hello, are we not looking at Bitcoin for the last how many years? Multiple cycles. What is that mainly, right? Up until recently, it is retail money. So with that said, I cannot say, hey, guess what? It definitely is the institutions, because that right there is still roughly what, 60% is BTC. That's the dominant one. So yeah, it's still retail. So until that changes, I'm going to go with no, institutions are not the single most important driver of crypto prices. Even in this cycle, we have seen that you can have a big partnership with a big name, and people are like, well, why didn't it pump the price? Exactly. That's a great example. It's a catalyst. And I would say in this particular, I don't know, last couple months, the only one I've seen that's made any difference whatsoever is probably Stellar. We saw the news about DTCC, and as a result, Stellar was up 100%. Everything else across the board, you don't see that at all. So I don't know what happened to Crux, but that's just the way I feel about it. That's one example. What happens when we get away from this retail narrative? It's not just a narrative. You just need to go and look at the actual, like, go to what's happened on some of these dexes. Go on, go to some of these scanners and whatnot. See how much volume is actually coming in. It's still that retail money. Now, we're all hoping for utility run, but the question as of right now, yeah, it's institutions are the single most important driver of crypto prices. No, not at all. Right now, no, not at all. In the future, absolutely. We're all hoping for that utility run. So yeah, there's my answer.
All right, so let's go ahead and get this poll up here. I see some of y'all. I see Shook. You're ready to go after this one, but you said actually you said agree. So disagree seems to be the majority. And again, institutions are now the single most. Everyone disagrees with that. It's not even worth spending much more time on this one. So looks like that was a good one, but we got another super chat. So let's go ahead and hit that super chat real quick, Rob. And then we'll move into a very fun question. Make sure you stick around for that question. Fast Nickel, do you think Luna oh my good, what Shiba Luna like, what are we doing? Do you think Luna Classic can be a gem this cycle? All right, I've had the floor for all these super chats. Does anybody else want to answer this one? I would say stay away. I've lost a lot of money in that Terra Luna collapse. So yeah, anybody else with that one?
My thoughts would be, there's just so many projects to invest in. Like, there's so many high quality projects, and I'm not saying Luna Classic isn't necessarily a high quality project. I mean, it's not something I'm invested in, but there's just so many choices, right? You have TAO, Sui. Yeah, hard pass.
I would treat that one like Ethereum Classic, maybe. Like, I don't know, it could, but it's just a wild guess.
Yo,
and there's
nice.
Again, like cantons, there's a ton of projects that have potential. Why not just throw them there? But definitely thank you for that super chat. Let's go into this fun question I alluded to earlier. Drake has a better rap catalog than any rapper alive. Shook, what you got?
You are messing with me, man. Strongly disagree.
Oh man. Millie, what you got?
Strongly disagree.
All right. This one might be unanimous. Jesse.
Strongly disagree.
Oh man, this is gonna be unanimous. All right, Max.
Of course, I strongly disagree, man. You see this right here? Bam! Wu-Tang! Yeah, that's right. I said it. So yeah,
All
strongly
right.
disagree. Thank you very much.
I think
Listen to the Drake. What is wrong with you?
Doc's been like, he's the one to beat though. What do you got, Doc? Let's see where you're going with this.
I'm also strongly disagreeing. I'm saving some contrarian takes for
All right,
later
so
in the night.
We usually don't do this. I'm gonna say I would agree, and I'm not gonna say he's the best rapper, but I'm gonna say by the numbers, Drake is the biggest rapper alive today, and that we're going off streaming numbers. We're going off of even revenue, like how many.
Man, I wish
concert
somebody
sales.
would agree with you. I wish I had.
No, it's fine. Y'all don't have to agree. I could pull up the numbers
for this question.
Whenever
I
they
was
go
ready
back
to
and forth,
slay and destroy on this question.
the
but
Drake
no,
and the
we
Kendrick
got to move
beat.
along because everybody strongly disagrees.
Tell us how you really feel, Max.
Yeah,
I got a whole thing on this.
the floor is yours, Max. Why
All
is
right.
Drake not the best in terms of? Yeah, good.
Hello, did we not? Okay, you said it. You know, compared to any rapper living currently speaking. Hello, Slim Shady, M80. You better than that Kim lady. Eminem's catalog leads in equivalent album sales. How long has Eminem been along or around? I mean, come on, late 90s. I mean, I remember his first hit. Come on, guys. I mean, Marshall Mathers LP, Slim Shady LP, long before Drake was, you know, going around. I mean, the guy was having hits before Drake was even a sperm. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, critical and commercial longevity, technical lyricism. The guy has a bigger catalog, and it's just him. I could give other examples. We could be here for an hour.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on this one, or y'all want to just keep pushing back to crypto? It's up to you.
I kind of want to. I got to say, I got to go with Nas on this one. I have always liked Nas, and
Exactly. My all-time favorite rapper. Thank you very much.
yeah, I mean, he always puts out good stuff. So I don't know. I just got to.
So this question's all about how we look at it, because like if you put Nas up on a stage with Drake and we're doing a versus battle where they're performing their best hits, Drake is going to slaughter him. I like Nas, but there's no way like hit for hit, like God's plan starts tuning in.
Are you talking
When
about
people
hit
just
for
start
hit?
like
No, I thought you were talking about
hit
MC
for hit.
battle.
Oh, hold on.
No,
Didn't he
no.
lose? Didn't he do an on-stage battle with Lil Wayne and he lost? I
Who?
swear they did a
Drake?
little Drake and Lil Wayne. They did it like
No,
song for
definitely
song
not.
on stage.
I would have known that.
No.
Wayne, my favorite rapper,
You-
so I know
hey,
I would have
you-
known that.
Yeah,
Go-
Wayne destroyed a lot of people too. I like Wayne, too.
YouTube it after this. But that being said, no, I
Yeah.
can't say Drake is like the best rapper, because I would not. If you think of, you might get the numbers, but if you put like quality of putting together albums, the Carter 1 through 3, Drake has no album better than any of those.
Let's go,
And he's
Shook.
not touching, and he's also not touching
Take Care?
Kanye's first 3 albums.
Take care.
Kanye's first 3 albums
Oh
are.
my God.
Let's go, Shook.
You're not touching.
You
You're
cooking
not
right
touching
now.
It
Kanye's
depends.
first 3 albums, bro. You're not
You
doing
cooking
that.
Nothing
right
was
now.
the same. Nothing was the same. Hey, Carter 3, my favorite 3, so I got to give you that one. But this one was. Oh, good.
I feel like I got to double down on the substance take, right? What Shook just said. I mean, even if you just look from a Grammy perspective, right? Compared to Grammys Drake got and K Dot got, it's like night and day, right? You listen to K Dot's song and you leave with something. It's hard for me to say Drake has the best catalog ever, because he never came from struggle, man. And for me, that means something. Like came from Degrassi. Like, you know, a person like from the culture, like when I'm listening to you, I want to feel, I can't really relate with you. What makes Drake great is his voice. He has the greatest voice, like it's projected perfectly with like how music is heard. So his voice sounds good on everything. But as far as from a substance perspective, I can't say he has the best catalog of all time.
All right. I think we beat this one it was good. Very good little debate we've had here. You guys won it. We got a couple super chats, and somebody was super passionate about Max's response because he called you the GOAT. So this is a rigged outcome. Coming with the super chat, Max. You're getting a lot of love. Your stance was good.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. I'm not the GOAT. There's many GOATs in this thing that we cover of crypto. Everybody has their own way of explaining things, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's something a goat would say. That's a goat response.
Yeah, wasn't Jordan asked the other day about his GOAT status, and he just basically shrugged it off. You know, you can't really.
He's already made it clear. He's already been asked that question numerous times, but people haven't been alive in this day and age to even give him his proper respect. But at least he's been consistent. He recognizes different eras.
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I'm a big LeBron fan, but for him to constantly say that he's the GOAT, bro, you're not the GOAT.
Jordan,
you're not even close to being the GOAT.
Last week we had this debate here.
Jordan,
you missed it, Jesse. We were talking.
And the real question
Jordan
is, are you the regular season GOAT? Okay, then there's a regular season GOAT.
Well, there's such thing as career longevity.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
there's such thing as career. All right. Hey, Black Rouge chiming in, y'all, for the super chat. I agree with Crux. All right. I mean, I'm not really trying to win voices.
I knew he was going to do that.
Drake, I agree. There's some ways you could put Drake at the top in terms of a catalog currently, but you got to be very selective on how you do it. So
maybe on your top.
I mean,
not even in my top 100.
Numbers, streamers.
You're kind of biased there, Crux.
Streamers. Who is beating him?
I'll say it loud and proud. I ain't biased on that.
Selective.
Oh, thank you.
Who is beating him?
I'm not a big fan of Lil Wayne either, but I mean, maybe I like 3 songs. You know, like if we could play, how cool would it be if there was no copyright to have, you know, the Millie song, right? You know, as Millie comes on, that would be cool. I have to admit that.
For sure. Well, you guys are loving it. We see a lot of responses in the chat. Let's go ahead and get back into the crypto chat, though. So we got BitTensor TAO will hit $1,500 by 2029. Currently it's about $200. So you're looking at what, over 7x or so. Will BitTensor TAO do over a 7x in this next bull market? Shook Focus, what you got?
I agree.
All right. Millie?
Strongly agree.
Y'all need to check out Millie's channel. Those subnets, hey, that exposure is beautiful, brother. Jesse, what you got?
I got to agree on that one.
All right, Max?
Strongly agree.
Okay. And Invest with Doc, is TAO going to do that 7x?
Strongly agree on steroids.
All right. So that was the strongest response. I think Millie covers it a ton. The strongest response was Doc. So let's get Doc's first, and then we'll have Millie next.
I'm going to tee Max and Millie up. I'll keep it short and sweet. TAO, in my opinion, is the biggest AI project in all of crypto right now, right? It has such a unique model that mimics or echoes Bitcoin. And I use this example a lot, but Polkadot, and I understand it was in a high liquidity environment, but Polkadot ran to over $50 billion in market cap with not a whole lot of utility versus TAO that has real utility, right? They are quite literally rewarding projects or subnets that are providing real world utility. This is like the easiest, like as I was thinking about this question, I'm like, I need to buy more TAO. I need to like stack my bag of TAO. Anything under 200 sounds great. I don't want to talk a whole lot because I know these two gentlemen cover this project quite a bit, but this is the easiest 7x in my opinion. Non-financial advice.
All right. Actually, let's go with Max first, and then we'll wrap it up with Millie on this one. Max, why do you think that TAO will get this 7x?
Well, geez, I mean, where are we at right now? Like roughly $190 to $200 ish for TAO. Again, that's a market cap of around, I want to say what, 2 billion, something like that. So max supply is 21 million, just like BTC. It really feels like it's the AI version of Bitcoin, right? You mentioned that Millie does a lot of subnets. I mean, subnet growth from dozens to 128 plus. Again, a lot of AI usage clearly, right, across the board. So hundreds of thousands of users on select subnets. I get that. Millions of daily requests and reports. We want to see that. You want to be able to quickly aggregate data, but combine that with AI, right? So the way I look at it is, I know there's a lot of people that are going to have their price predictions, and rightfully so, but when I think about AI sector demand combined with everything that we're pulling from like NVIDIA, a lot of the recent announcements that Jensen Huang, if you've been following him, what he's been mentioning, again, this subnet thing, right? I'll have to check out some of Millie's content in regard to that, but that revenue, that's a lot of traction, right? And then some. So how do you scale that? Would it be something like BitTensor TAO, right? I think so. So 1,500 by 2029. Some people say, I don't know, maybe 2030, but 2029 is supposed to be a magic year, right? So it's ambitious, but the way I look at it is, even if TAO captures even just a minute share combined with that limited supply, I think that's what most people miss when it comes to, I guess you could say, these debates. But that in itself, I think that's what's going to put TAO over the top. And let's face it, it's the next era. It really feels like Bitcoin, but again, combined with the AI, people have pointed out the AI bubble. It's already blown up. I don't think so. I don't think that we're quite there yet to say that. But yeah, to get to 200, go from 200-ish where we're at now to something like what I just mentioned by 2029, I think that's doable. I will have to agree with Doc and Millie on this one.
All right, Millie, we'll get your take, and then we'll check out what the polls are looking like. What you got, Millie?
So, Doc and Max pretty much covered everything as far as like tokenomics and possible expansion. But what I personally look at is constraints, right? When you look at the grid constraints, when you look at potential water rights and choke points, BitTensor doesn't have to compete with hyperscalers, doesn't have to compete with the Metas, the Amazon, none of that, right? It just has to sit right there in the intersection as an alternatives. So if the end game is water rights and grid constraints, then a lot of these companies are not going to just say, oh, we're done with AI. They'll find alternatives. And, BitTensor has this cool thing about it where it has subnets that provide these services, right? It makes it sort of like a specialist. You may have a subnet doing inference. You may have a subnet doing compete, opposed to like near or fetch or even cubic, where it's just this one single point of failure trying to do everything. So there's nothing that really competes with BitTensor in the AI sector as far as crypto. And then overkill is just Bitcoin's tokenomics and the emergence of the agentic economy, right? So everything comes down to this. Like we say, oh, machine transactions, but a lot of that has to be verified and a lot of that has to be coordinated. See, medical industries, law firms, they're not going to touch computation unless it's private. They're not going to touch inference if it's exposed. And BitTensor has these subnets that solve those constraints. So kind of like you see from these other ecosystems, you got the tokenomics of Bitcoin, then you got the expansion of the protocol, like the ICO boom. And when you put that together, man, $22 billion market cap, like Doc says, I think that's very, very attainable. And I don't think I need to say anything else, right? That's pretty much my thesis behind that.
Yeah, loved it. Let's go ahead and check out what the polls are looking like. Man, nobody disagreed. So everybody thinks minimum 7x BitTensor TAO. We'll see. I definitely agree with that. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next question. It's all about stable coins. I know it's kind of boring, but it's important. So stable coins are more important to crypto's future than Bitcoin itself. Very bold statement. We know Bitcoin is kind of transcended what crypto is. It's allowed people to get a voice, remove the third party, but now we got like centralized products, like even Circle, Tether. They're creating these products. They're backed by, again, fiat currencies in a sense, or treasuries, etc. And stablecoins are disrupting everything we know from what Bitcoin built. So the statement is stablecoins are more important to crypto's future than Bitcoin itself. Shook, what you got?
Strongly agree.
All right, Millie?
Strongly agree.
Jesse?
Strongly agree.
Maximus?
Strongly agree.
All right, and Doc?
I'm going to strongly disagree here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Doc, you're always looking for the smoke, brother. So I'm not even going to add context. Go at it, Doc. What you got?
Yes. So I am super bullish on stablecoins, right? It's one of the main reasons that I love Circle. I'm very big on SWI or SUI with their gasless stablecoin transactions. I think stablecoins in a lot of way is going to, I'm trying to 8 Mile you guys, tell you all the things you're going to tell me. I think that stablecoins is going to help with adoption, right? Especially institutional adoption. But as the question reads, stablecoins are more important to crypto's future than Bitcoin itself. Well, if Bitcoin were to fall and never come back, right? If we saw the death candle and Bitcoin never recovers, that would bring down the crypto industry as a whole. You routinely hear people say that Bitcoin's our North Star, right? And in our industry, there something that we're working on is a lot of trust, right? We talk about these wallet hacks. It's bad for the industry. Trust is an uphill battle for us right now. Now, I will argue that stablecoins are helping that, right? It's making it more mainstream. It's making it so that folks, maybe with Zebek, for example, with their super app, people are doing stablecoin transactions on Web3 they might not even know. So it helps with adoption. But my entire argument on this, and this is why I'm strongly disagreeing, is Bitcoin is our North Star, right? And yes, we are going to see likely at some point trillions of dollars of stablecoin volume. But if Bitcoin were to somehow erode or fall back, I do not envision a future where stablecoins can still prevail in that type of situation.
Wow, that's a very bold take, especially with the if Bitcoin collapses, everything else collapses. I think that's like the best way to usher in a CBDC, with these stable coins. But let's give these 4 contestants, starting with Shook, ending with Max. Let's go ahead and just go around the room. Why do y'all think stable coins are more important than Bitcoins for the future of crypto?
Because Doc tried to 8-mile me and take my argument away. But stable coins are literally what brings it all. It's literally what brings it all together. If Bitcoin was that important, we would not have the stable coins, because you could go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin. But because there is no trust, that's why we have these stable coins, because these different institutions want to protect their bottom line too. So if you guys are going to do whatever you want to do with the Bitcoin price, we want something stable. So that's why the stable coins were introduced, because there is no trust. And I don't see how we get retail adoption without the stable coins, which if you don't get retail adoption, then it really goes nowhere. So.
All right, Millie.
It just comes down to 3 things for me. Stability, the agentic layer, and then last but not least, I would say surveillance, right? So I'll start with the first. If you're in a random country, right, and let's say your currency is falling apart, you're probably not going to go buy Bitcoin. Right? It's not stable enough, right? It's just too much volatility. That the same could be said for the agentic economy when it comes into machine-to-machine transactions, right? If machine needs to do something 3 a.m. in the middle of the night, it needs something that's stable, right? That's where digital, stable coins are just digital dollars. And then last but not least, I would say, from a surveillance perspective, stable coins can be tracked easier. You know what I mean? I know that's why we buy Bitcoin and Zcash and all of that. But from the, just putting my elite hat on, they want stable coins, right? They can be tracked easier. You know what I mean? And it's one of the biggest things with the Clarity Act, right? Being able to convert each stable coin 1-in-1 with the T-bills, right? This is supposed to help bring down that margin with the debt that we're in. So like liquidity is the future for crypto, not specifically Bitcoin. And I think stable coins is a big part of that liquidity narrative.
Dang, those are some good takes, Millie. Jesse, looks like you're ready to add to that. What you got, Jesse?
Yeah, I strongly agreed with this one, but I got to admit, I do kind of agree with Doc's take on this. I never really saw Bitcoin as the North Star, but I kind of envision it like the moon with the tides. And the reason why is because of all of the Bitcoin pairs. So if Bitcoin comes down, it really does tear everything down, and then it would have to kind of restart. Now, that said, I think that stablecoins play a huge role when it comes to TradFi banking in particular, because they're not a threat to the bank. So like one great example of this, like in Japan, they've been rolling out their own stablecoins for banking, et cetera. And, I think the stablecoins have a permanent place here in the market. Now, that said, I've never been a fan of Tether. I don't like that they've never been able to do their, independent audit. Don't like that. But I do like what they've done with Circle. So I think stable coins are very important for bridging the gap to real TradFi.
Yeah, you threw a bar in there, moon with tide. Maybe we make a meme coin. You know, MIT ticker Moonwhip Tide. So let's go. Let's go ahead and throw it over to Max on this one.
Yeah, so for one, I mean, I love what Jesse just mentioned there. Also, you made a very good case for your answer, Doc, right? I mean, I remember, I think the first time you came on, you were really big on stablecoins, your circle reference. I didn't forget anything about that. So, yeah, I still strongly agree that stablecoins are more important to crypto's future, of course, than Bitcoin, because, again, when we talk about pairings, you need, for the most part, stable coins with that. Now, I understand that you can still have things like a particular coin or token. Like recently, I learned that QNT was pulled from Binance, I guess, on a pairing, which is kind of crazy. So, you know, but there is instances where you can have something like you can buy BTC with QNT. But for the most part, right, when we talk about pairings, it's stable coins, right? So when I look at things like the IMF, and hear me out, I know I cover this a lot. Well, the IMF and BIS papers document stablecoins as the primary bridge of exchange, obviously, in crypto, in generally speaking. Something that I covered a lot is the regulated liability network we done over on the Coin Vault. So Citi, who was the host of the RLN, regulated liability network, and others project a multi-trillion-dollar issuance by when? 2030. Why is it always 2030? It just is, okay? Under even a base bull case scenario. So with a lot of velocity coming in, transaction volumes, again, that's a lot of volume. Again, back to kind of like what Millie was talking about. So I just look at this as this is going to enable what? The practical rails. What is part of those practical rails? Like your DeFi, your real world assets. Again, these are all involved with what? Payments. So while BTC remains primarily, like as people would say, a store of value, it's still, I hate to say, a speculation asset. Now, we can reference the 4-year cycle we want, but even in recent IMF BIS white papers, which I have cited numerous times on my channel, their work stresses the whole idea of more regulation and integration, but with what? Tokenized systems. So again, I just mentioned some quant. What is quant looking to do? Tokenized deposits. What's tokenized deposits by definition? Programmable liquidity. So there is that. And again, stablecoins are already more embedded into the daily crypto utility. So you take that away, you're going to have a crazy market, to say the least. So yeah, I still have to go with my answer. I strongly agree. Stablecoins are more important to crypto's future than Bitcoin. And you clearly see the institutions. That institutional question that was 2 questions above, I guess. I think this should have been part of that, but I get it. Anyway, that's my answer, and I'm sticking with it.
All right, real quick, Doc. I see you're ready to go. Max, real quick. 3 stable coins. The year is 2040. So we got what? Let's just say 15 years. 3 stable coins exist. Which 3 are they?
RLUSD, I would say Circle USDC, and then, maybe it's regulated Tether, which hardly anybody's covering right now. Maybe it's regulated Tether. Maybe Tether in itself doesn't survive, but they definitely have a backup plan, and it's regulated Tether, which is USAT. Guys, look more into that. Me and the Coin Vault crew. Shout out to Rob and Rue. We covered that at least a couple times.
There you go. Tether, Circle, and Ripple. Invest with Doc. Let's get back to the answer. What you got over there? Stable coins are more important to crypto's future than Bitcoin itself. What do you got to say against that?
This is such a great question because it's like, what are probably the 1 and 2, 1A, 1B, as far as like most important things for crypto, Bitcoin and stable coins. Max, I can really appreciate the research. Max and I just did a collab on XRP and Quant, which is video's doing well. People are really enjoying it. In some ways, and I say this in jest, in some ways, I kind of feel like Shook and Millie solidified some of my points is when we're talking about trust and CBDC. If we bring on more stable coins, and Max, you had mentioned, I still am a huge proponent of stable coins. The first time I was on the Coin Vault show here, the Crypto Verdict, I was very passionate about stable coins. But in a lot of ways, when we talk about this trust aspect, CBDC is scary to a lot of people, and stable coins could be could be one way that really gets solidified. We talking about trust. You know, what erodes trust more there? Is it Bitcoin falling down and not coming back? Possibly. Is it CBDCs? Possibly. You know, the other interesting thing that I think to myself is, you know, the IBIT BlackRock ETF and the Bitcoin ETFs in general were the most successful ETFs ever, bigger than gold. So does the narrative, does crypto survive if that goes down? And I know I'm kind of speaking in some hyperbole. And then I guess the last thing that I would say is, right, ultimately, both of these are very, very important to crypto, you know, both Bitcoin and stable coins. And it's going to be very interesting to see where this space goes. Like you had mentioned, 2029, 2030. So great, I guess a great question, whoever made this one.
All right, and that would be me. You know, I'm pretty good at what I do. Look, Shook said he has one last thing. Rob already spoiled it with the poll. We're good. Shook, what you got?
So as we, Rob just threw me off with the poll.
Yep.
But as we talked about with the trust factor, right? And then he talked about stablecoin versus CBDC. Crypto folks, we understand that a stablecoin can very easily become a CBDC, but the average retail person does not know that. I just got out of a full like 2-hour-long argument with a non-crypto bro about why a stablecoin can perform the same as a CBDC, and they don't yet understand how these coins function. And then you tie in Europe's got its own stablecoin going, the British pound. I don't see how these countries just YOLO. Right now, there's a whole infrastructure argument with being reliant on the US. We just saw Russia come out and talk about their new trade system. So I don't know how the US comes back and agrees to get every country to only use like a USDC or RLUSD.
All right, good takes. We see the vast majority strongly agree that stablecoins are more important. You ask a cypherpunk this question, they think Bitcoin's the biggest, you know, and I think people understand that. So it's all about how you look at it. It's about when you came into crypto, and it's why you are here. So we have somebody who just dropped some more jewels. So let's go ahead and throw them up on screen. Definitely appreciate you. Thank you, Holland, for continuously adding those jewels to the system. Thumbs up. Everybody give everybody down, link in the description. All of us are here. We're helping, you know, spread the word of crypto across the space, across YouTube. Make sure you give us a like and a subscribe. And we're closing in on that question number 10. If anybody wants a super chat for question 11, we'll make sure that we throw it in there for you. So let's go ahead and jump into this question number 8. The poll's already up there. Rob, you are on it today. Let's go. NFTs will make a major return this next cycle. Robinhood chain is popping off, y'all. I'm not chilling, but Stonk Brokers, I think it is. I see Millie shaking his head. Millie would know. This one's popping off. We start to see these NFTs, 6 Ethereum, 7 Ethereum, 10 Ethereum. They're starting to move. And everyone's like, is it craze back? Is it 2020, 2021 again? I don't know, but maybe you guys know. So the question is, again, NFTs will make a major return this cycle. Shook, what you got? Are you muted?
I am. Strongly agree.
Oh, okay. This one's going to be good. All right, Millie.
Strongly agree.
Dang. Jesse?
Disagree.
I might have to do strongly disagree for Jesse. Just kind of Max, what you got?
I strongly agree.
All right, Doc.
I'm going to just agree. I'm excited to hear these guys' takes on it.
Yeah, so Jesse's the only one that disagreed. It wasn't a strong stance. Let's go ahead and, Jesse, the floor is yours. Why will NFTs not make a major comeback in this next cycle?
Well, okay, I remember the ETH rocks. I remember the apes. I remember the punks, all those different things. They were great. More so, I would like to see the NFTs kind of go into more of like the collectibles space. I would like to see more in the real world assets. In particular, there was a NFT that was out last time around that had to do with a golf course that all the celebrities were trying to get into that got you like a lifetime membership to the golf course. Thought that was awesome. I want to see those ideas. I'm tired of seeing the ETH rock. So I just got to say, you know, when you see these things spike and they've dropped literally like a rock since, I'm not really feeling it at the moment.
That's definitely a good take, because we try to give the diversity of like risk management, risk management, just to make sure people understand these are pixels. You know, sometimes they're just JPEG images of stuff, but then you can add a use case to it. So let's.
One last thing though there too, and this is the part that I really like about it, is when you did have a set, I really like that you can see the history of it forever, and I really like that it brings money back to the artist. So that's awesome. So I like all those sides of it. I'm over the ETH rock.
All right, over the ETH rock. Shook, maybe you're not. What do you got, Shook?
I'm going with what Jesse ended with there. NFTs are a powerhouse. The non-fungible token, when we talk about the utility side, you got things like property, parcel, right? They're tokenizing real estate and property. You got Dovu behind this shoulder, tokenizing carbon credits. And so when you talk about the non-fungible token piece, if you slide it over to utility, it takes an entirely different light. But even if we stay on the creator side, like you guys mentioned with meme coins, NFTs help drive adoption. And those who dig a little bit deeper, you find the utility of those NFTs. And I believe there's some creators who are going to start pushing NFTs because they're a absolutely awesome way to fuel the creator economy, something that Robinhood chain is trying to do right now.
Very true. Millie?
So I strongly agree. I agree with everything Shook just said. But I think there's also like another caveat to it. A lot of people focus on the picture aspect. I focus on the IP rights. I focus on the ownership. In the world of AI and deepfakes, ownership becomes a rarity. So when you look at it from an IP perspective, it's just a receipt proving that this belongs to you. So you can look at an NFT and be like picture, or you can look at an NFT and be like concert tickets, albums, game items, software licenses, artists looking to just tokenize themselves. So like, just like back in the day, right? You had like QR codes. They were like big and then it like died down, right? Because sometimes you can just be early. I think the same thing happens in a way for NFTs. Once the hype comes back and people realize that it's more so about ownership, like Shook was saying with real estate, deeds, card, anything could become a NFT. So I just don't see a world where so much inorganic things will become popular that ownership will take a back seat. And for that alone, I think NFTs make a return.
All right, Max, let's go ahead and get your take on this one. Will NFTs make a major return? You said yes.
I strongly agree to that, because I mean, again, I love all the examples everybody provided, but if we go further back, prior to JPEG / Bored Ape speculation, let's face it. I mean, last I saw a lot of the hype in that was 2021, maybe 2022. That has definitely faded and then some. So the shift is clearly to utility, identity. When I think identity, I got to give a shout out to Quant Network on this one. When we look at a lot of NFTs, they are behind standards. One particular standard is literally referred to as ERC 721. And that in itself is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But even Quant has taken that to the next level. They have a standard called QRC 721. So I've done some research within the last few years. I even saw some examples of like a UK police station, believe it or not, in London, that uses that standard, and they use it in the form of utility. So it's basically NFTs combined with like a driver's license. We're going to see a lot more of these examples moving forward. We've heard about these concepts. People want to see how it comes into fruition. So I look at it as a lot of these quote unquote standards, they're going to be amplified and then some. And it's not going to be just your Ethereum based ones with NFTs. Now we are talking about real true utility. So what I mean by that is your passports, again, anything that has real value. Even you guys heard me earlier, XDC. When I talk about electronic bills of lading, those electronic certificates, again, if I'm betting on XDC with that, because that in itself is, you're going to have electronic certificates especially for maritime trade, you name it. And instead of having like a traditional rubber stamp, they go boom, rubber stamp on the piece of paper like we used to do. It's just going to be all automated. I mean, think of how much problem we have with supply chain already. Again, the talk of the Strait of Hormuz. How do we go around a lot of these things? Well, yeah, you need to have standards and you need to have a utility-based NFT. That means billions and trillions entering into the NFT space. Also by 2030, you guys can look more about that. That's a real thing. So yeah, I got to stick to my guns on that answer with that. But we had a lot of great answers on this one from everybody here.
For sure. Yeah, NFTs, it's definitely not the buzzword as of late, but we will see. Let's check out the polls, Rob. If we can bring this up. I disagree. So a lot of people don't think the ETH rocks of the world are definitely going to take off in this next bull market, but hey, maybe that's what we need as confluence to think we're going up and right. You know, whenever everything is against you, I don't know, sometimes those make the best investments. So something else that, you know, we talk about a lot on, you know, the Coin Vault, Crux of Crypto, and all these different channels is XRP. So we can go whichever direction y'all want to take this one. It's a bold statement. So XRP is the top ISO 2022 cryptocurrency to hold in this next bull market. This is a good one. Shook, what you got?
Strongly disagree.
All right, Millie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Strongly disagree.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were thinking. All right, Jesse.
I strongly agree with Shook and Millie. So I strongly disagree.
Oh, you hit me with the okadoke. Oh,
Gotcha.
Man. Got him. All right. Max. I'm about to scrap.
You already know my answer. I'm going to strongly agree.
Max wants all the smoke. I already knew it was going to go down. Doc, what you got?
Max converted me. We did an XRP quant video. I agree. I think XRP is going to be the biggest ISO token this upcoming cycle.
And if you guys could have been there, I think I could have converted you too, but it is what it is.
Oh, Shook, Jesse, Millie, y'all got to be there. I don't know what it is, but man, this is a 3v2. We got some strong opinions. All right, Millie, let's go ahead and get Millie's take first. Why is XRP not going to be the biggest ISO 2022 token for the next cycle?
Look, to be fair, right? I'm not as, you know, knowledgeable about XRP as the Maxes and the docs, right? But my take is more so on the term ISO 2022. So when I first got into crypto, right, I got into that term, right, which led me down this rabbit hole of buying H-bar and so-called ISO 22 quant, all of this stuff, right? But in my opinion, it's more of a marketing term that brings in retail, right? Like I feel like when you say it's an ISO 22 token, that's similar to like two companies saying, hey, we both use Microsoft Word, so we're partners. You know what I mean? It's just a messaging system. It's not something that means we're partnering, we're integrating. It's just simply a messaging system. So when I look at it from that perspective, I feel like that whole term is overhyped. Now, let's close the loop with XRP. I just think the damage that's going to be done when this Clarity Act passes with these stable coins is going to become a direct choke point for the use case of XRP. If banks can clearly like move value through a stable coin, why do they need a middleman? That's my take, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
All right, good take. So Millie already built the foundation why XRP is not going to be the biggest ISO token. Jesse's going to add to it. Then we'll get Shook to add to it. And then we'll see if they can get XRP to break it down. But Jesse, go ahead and add to that foundation.
Yeah, I would say, you know, the thing with XRP, and this is kind of going back in time, I feel like, you know, even back when they were in the lawsuit, everybody always thought XRP was going to be the coin that, man, they win that lawsuit, you know, this is it. This is going to be the #1 coin in all of crypto. And that never happened, right? And it always kind of had a market cap that was too high to make those kind of gains. So personally, I've just never really been a fan of XRP. And, you know, looking at the standard, I mean, Quant's on that list. I mean, I feel like there's some other contenders that are out there for those of us that maybe aren't XRP fans.
Sure. Added to that foundation, Shook, let's go ahead and put the very top of it.
So I agree with a lot of what Jesse just said there. Update your resume. XRP is getting tired. First came into crypto. I made my first crypto gains on XRP. All right, let me just get that out there. I made my first crypto gains on XRP, but I need them to update the resume. Like he mentioned, it was the court case. Oh, Gary Gensler. Oh, there's always something. There's always a reason why they can't take off. They got their butts kicked in 2025 by XCN Onyx Coin, and that's never talked about, which is operating in the same space under the company chain. So XRP's got to update their resume. I'd much rather buy an ISO at a lower market cap, like Millie mentioned, like an H-bar or an Onyx Coin, something with a lot more room to grow. XRP's already got a blown up market cap. It'll do well, but if you're looking for the gains, I don't know that that's the one to hold on to.
All right, the tower's built. Let's go ahead. Let's go with Doc first, because I know Max, he's coming through. Doc, let's go ahead and give the take. Why is XRP going to be the big winner of the ISO 2022 cryptos in this next bull market?
Yeah, I think a couple reasons, and I'm gonna just kind of expand on some of Shook's thoughts, because Shook, I agree with a lot of things you said as far as market cap, but there is in my MBA, one of the things that we studied was momentum investing, right? So sometimes you'll hear folks say like, hey, the best time to buy the S&P is when it puts in new all-time highs, because it has a lot of momentum to keep pushing forward, right? You could kind of make the same argument when Bitcoin, blasted through 69,000, we got into the 70s. We really didn't even see the 80s. We just went right to the 90s, right? So momentum investing is a really big thing. I'm going to let Max break down some of the technicals, but here's one thing that I will say, and I mention this probably every week. I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. We operate in a economy of attention. Brad Garlinghouse is on, last cycle, 2025, he is on the CNBCs once a week. He's on the Fox businesses once a week. He has a relationship with a lot of movers and shakers in the industry, right? He's close to President Trump. So because all of these things, for me, I think momentum is underrated, and it's something that folks can really take advantage of in this crypto cycle. But I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna pass the torch over to Max, because I think he is our true XRP genius here. So that's all I have.
All right, Max, what you got?
All right, this is going to be a case where you're probably going to have to cut me off because I'll probably go too long, but I want to state this. This is something I shared with Doc. I know that we don't present documents while we do this show, so I'll just literally present this. I don't think 99% of the people here, or even on this panel, no offense, realizes that when we talk about Ripple, they have cited from James Wallace of Ripple a CBDC private ledger. Now, hear me out. I understand that people want the public side of it, but this CBDC private ledger is based on the same blockchain technology that powers what? The XRP ledger. Okay. And what is the XRP ledger? The XRPL. It means that the CBDC private ledger is built for payments. I'll say it again. It was built for payments. So the same one, the CBDC private ledger, is designed for issuing currencies with over 5,400 currencies. That is not a typo. Go cite what I literally just mentioned. Issued on XRPL over the last 8 years. It includes, believe it or not, oh my gosh, I said it, digital asset XRP. Yeah, XRP. Everybody's talking about, RLUSD and all this. No, it's XRP, which in itself can be leveraged. Notice how I said can be leveraged as a neutral bridge asset for frictionless value movement between CBDCs and other currencies. Now, when I did this collab with Doc, we got into a leaked document that a lot of people didn't share, but it's been around for roughly, I want to say 6-7 years. And it comes from the Hyperledger Foundation. And in that, it shows basically the ILP, which is the Interledger Protocol. And it shows XRP as the unified ledger in that stack. Also connecting to correspondent banking systems, whether it's from Japan with the Bank of Japan, whether it's from the UK with the CHAP system, the Euro system, even China, okay? And so it shows basically a lot of this orchestration, and then it also shows how you have to have these liquidity pools. Now, I want to put out a disclaimer. So many people are referencing the right now, and I get that. But like I pointed out before, even the Central Bank of Indonesia, Sabahai, back when he was with Ripple before he joined Fireblocks, pitched XRP to the central banks. More importantly, the Central Bank of Indonesia. They love the use case. But what was the problem? We cannot hold this on our balance sheet until there's clarity. You guys wonder why we put so much emphasis on clarity when it comes to the XRP army. So then there's that. So again, this means you have all sorts of CBDC private ledgers. They're plugged into a shared platform, but more importantly, the XRP ledger. So when we talk about the concept of all the money, that's a large amount of money, right? And I understand that tokenized deposits plays a big role in it. That's with Quant and some other ones. But you guys have to also keep in mind that when we truly talk about like a lender of last resort, look at all the crises that's going on in the world as we speak. At any moment, we could see a country that would need a lender of last resort. And I'll just wrap it up with this. Do we have any examples of a lender of last resort? We absolutely 100% do. Who is that? El Salvador. So they tapped the IMF. IMF did use Bitcoin as a lender of last resort. They'll never do that again. So when you guys complain about, oh, I don't see much money going on this, again, the real money will funnel in, but you do need that clarity. And people say, well, it's an excuse. I saw you guys in the panel, and I respect your opinions. Like Jesse, you mentioned like, hey, you know, everybody thought the XRP was going to go to the moon and then some after the Ripple case. Again, we still don't have that clarity. Again, these are positive catalysts, but it is not real liquidity. So when I look at what people refer to as a dino coin, or, oh, I'd rather be invested in a Ripple compared to being invested in XRP, how does XRP solve basically the liquidity problem? You guys had some great answers when it came to the whole idea of RLUSD. You're looking at like, oh, XRP is just an extra option. You can look it up right now. Ask any AI as we speak, and this is no bash on Canton. I hold it, and Chainlink.
All right,
Does Chainlink remove the pre-funded Nostro accounts? The answer is no.
All right, great takes, Max. You maybe you won over the audience. Let's check the polls real quick to see if XRP is going to be the top ISO 2022. Max, you tore it up. You and Doc. You know, I got to give Doc his respect as well. You guys won this one. For the sake of time, let's go ahead and jump into question number 10. And also, we got a super chat for 11. We'll get into right after that. So, Bitcoin will break its 4-year cycle in 2029. So, just real quick. The 4-year cycle, 1 year after the peak leads to a bottom, and then we go up into basically a 3-year bullish pattern. That's kind of, if you're new, that's what the 4-year cycle is. Now, it's currently intact. Anybody that tells you the 4-year cycle is broken doesn't understand what markets look like. Now, for it to break would be 2029. So if we go up and right, that's the next time that there is a moment that it breaks, and that is if it keeps going up and right? So that's really just the background of it. Now let's go ahead and get Shook Focus's take. Will Bitcoin break its 4-year cycle in 2029?
I think if it's going to break, it comes before then. So no, disagree. Or Bitcoin will break its 4-year cycle. Yeah.
All right, Millie?
Strongly disagree.
Jesse?
I got to agree.
Max?
Strongly agree.
All right. Doc?
Love you, Max. Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree.
I love you too, brother.
All right. Hey, none of that. All right. We got Millie. We got Doc. You guys are strongly disagreeing. Max, you got it out for you to jump in your brother. Let's go with Millie first. Millie, the floor is yours.
So I disagree, but I also understand like the halving is serving less of importance, right? As the supply is now, I believe, like under inflation is like under 1% a year. That's even lower than gold. But I think what no one focuses on is the psychological perspective of why we have a 4-year cycle. If you got a whole bunch of people thinking something will happen, they actually provide behavior behind that. So, you know, from that perspective, I think the 4-year cycle is kind of like embedded into how people trade, how people buy spot, you know, how they make their decisions with their portfolio. On top of that, The 4-year cycle also runs in line with the economy's cycles. When you think about the liquidity cycles, when you think about the presidential cycles, like that's a 4-year cycle. So I think this is all aligned, and it's been trapped upon us emotionally. I just don't see a world where the 4-year cycle breaks until we get, you know, a lot of this agentic economy using these type of assets, just because AI agents have no emotional tie to the 4-year cycle. So until that happens, I'm a 4-year cycle maxi.
Loving it, loving it, loving it. Doc, you're also a 4-year cycle maxi, it seems. What other takes you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think Millie hit the nail on the head, right? So the 4-year cycle is not unique to Bitcoin, right? We all operate in this crypto arena, right? We talk about finance as well, but the majority of us, we talk about crypto. Well, this 4-year cycle is not unique to just Bitcoin, right? If you actually even look at the SPX or the S&P 500, right, it also follows a 4-year cycle. And I still remember it was less than a year ago, right? Last October, I publicly came out and said, like, hey, first week in November, guys, the gig is up. We got to sell, right? And I got a lot of heat for that. And I just remember hearing both in my Discord, on Twitter, YouTube comments, you name it. This time is different, Doc. It's a 5-year cycle. It's a 7-year cycle. There's a 100-year cycle. And I'm being a little obnoxious with some of these examples. And yes, there is probably a lot of overlap in these things, right? The interesting thing is now, right, we all have different LLMs, different AI tools to our disposal, and we can find a lot of information to support or disagree with our arguments. Benjamin Cohen, I did a collab with him about a month ago. We talked about it, and he actually just mentioned a lot of the same things in a video that he published today saying, Bitcoin, where in the cycle are we? And he made a really interesting argument. He said the 4-year cycle, and I have mixed thoughts on this, but in this video, I would encourage everyone to check it out. He talks about the 4-year cycle really marks the bottoms. It doesn't necessarily mark the tops. And there's some irony in that, right? Because I just told you, like, oh, the first week of November last year, I was saying, like, hey, 4-year cycle, it's time to sell. So, you know, the average bear market lasts 52 to 54 weeks. And, you know, I had mentioned we're going to find information. This is super important. I want everyone to hear. We only have a handful of cycles underneath our belt, right? So eventually, yeah, we probably will break the 4-year cycle. Millie mentioned the halvings. I agree. Over time, they're going to have less meaning, right? Because we're getting down to such small rewards per block. But as of right now, until it's broken, my counter argument is this: let the market prove us wrong, right? If it is broken, okay, let the market show us that, right? Let's see a top. Let's go on a 5 or 6 year cycle, and then I'll be the first one to say, okay, hey, the 4-year cycle is broke. The one wrinkle in this could be if we get a recession. This is the part that people need to hear. If we get a recession end of 2028, that could really throw a wrench in things, right? Everybody's right. I did what I was supposed to do. I bought, 6 months before the halving. I loaded up, and then we get this redacted bull run because the business cycle outside of crypto, there's arguments this house of cards could potentially fall, right? The bond market, don't get me started on the bond market. 30 years above 5.3%. The 10-year is closing in on 5%. The last thing I'll leave you with, because I can talk about the bond market for the next hour. The last time the 30-year rate was this high was the end of 2007. And we all know what happened next. So as of right now, I think the 4-year cycle is still intact. But Max, I'm very curious your take on this. And Crux, I'm not trying to take your job.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those were actually helping Max. So that, like, ways to prevent us to go into a 3-year bullish period after this. I mean, you just gave Max a good amount of ammo. Max, what you got? Why is this 4-year cycle going to break before 2029?
I hate to say, I got to go with what Doc said. He did give me ammo on that. And so I just really, really encourage people to research some of this stuff. I understand we all cover what we cover, but we need to kind of get out of our own comfort zone, right? And I'll try to research some of the things you guys cover, right? It's hard to be involved with everything, or 20 or 50 projects. I get it. So again, back to what Doc was mentioning, if there really is truly, going to be a new financial crisis, do you really think it's wise for the United States government to just not learn from history? No, we're not going to have the US government basically just say, yep, we're just going to print more money, right? Endlessly. Good God, we're roughly in $38 trillion worth right now. So when I think of a lender of last resort, we're not going to tap Bitcoin. It does not fit like the IMS standards. They already stated that. So what examples do we have? I did a collaboration with Doc. We went into the documents. We saw that, basically speaking, the Bank for International Settlements in the May white paper that 99% of people are not going to even bother to read. It says clearly that banks cannot provide this type of liquidity on their own. You do need liquidity on demand. It's literally word for word, liquidity on demand. That's Ripple's use case phrased backwards. But guess what 99% of people are going to do? Oh, Max, it doesn't say XRP. Oh, it doesn't say Ripple. But the terminology matches to the T of what is needed. And what is that white paper? It's called the elasticity of money. Guys, I dropped you a link in the comments. I highly suggest you take a look into it. Again, back to the topic. If we're talking about moving money, we're talking about disrupting cycles. And so what I mean by that is moving money on the CBDC private ledger will be cost effective. How so? Well, numerous reasons. It's going to be reliable, close to instantaneous. So that would need something with 3 to 5 seconds finality. Transactions can also happen at volumes required by what? Central banks. So again, back to the BIS, the central bank of central banks. So CBDC private ledger, I'm not a fan of CBDCs, but I realize what the future is going to have. That ledger will handle tens of thousands of transactions per second, initially with the potential to scale to hundreds of thousands of TPS over time. And listen to this just real quick. Transactions on a CBDC private ledger are verified by the same consensus protocol used by the XRP ledger. Yeah, I said that, which is far less energy intensive and therefore less expensive. So since we're talking about Bitcoin, again, this is 61,000 times more efficient than public blockchains that leverage what? Proof of work. So there is that. And again, El Salvador is an example. You could call them a proof of concept. But now where we're at, we don't want these things to happen, right? So again, we gave you guys one example. It'd be one coincidence if that was it. Again, you guys check out that video on Doc's channel. It's exclusive to his channel. Guess what we also pointed out, everybody? We pointed out the Federal Reserve Bank, same type of terminology. Liquidity on demand. Bank of England, same type of terminology, right? So I say to myself, okay. Then we give you guys literally example, which we'll do probably in another video, of the ECB, which is the European Central Bank. And I just did a collaboration with Jesse Apex Crypto Insights where we have an example of an ex-central banker who was like, yeah, we're tokenizing with the XRPL, an ex-central banker. And what was the report from? Axiology. And who shared that? The European Central Bank.
All
I've had
right.
more time. I talked till I blew in the face about this, man.
Yeah. So Max's take is a lot of these other currencies are going to break Bitcoin's 4-year cycle before 2029. Let's invest with Doc. You got one last thing?
Yep, and I'll just be concise. And yep, that is an awesome video. You guys should check it out. Max, always open invite to come on. One thing that I just want to counter with that is you had mentioned, like, hey, right, if there's this liquidity event, or if we're on like an economic downturn, I kind of mentioned end of 2028. Well, Bitcoin has survived situations like this, right? We technically did have a recession in 2022, and Bitcoin survived, and it kept churning block after block, and it continued to follow the 4-year cycle. And I know it was still in its early stages, but a lot of people forget the economic downturns of 2012, right? I'm old enough to remember this. I had a full head of hair back then, but 2012 was really, really tough, right? And yet Bitcoin continued to tick. It continued to follow this 4-year cycle. I know that was part of the, 4-year cycle. And I know that was kind of the first cycle. Some people combine those first 2 cycles, but nonetheless, it continues to follow this cyclic nature, right? So I guess I'd kind of end my thought process there with the market will be the ultimate test, right? And we'll see. Where the good thing is we are in the last leg of this race, and if we are going to see a bottom, it's going to be Q3, Q4, and we're knocking on that door now.
I think, Doc, the ultimate test is going to be the poll from what we're about to see. Let's go ahead and bring that up here. We have Bitcoin will break its 4-year cycle. Wow, we either got to agree or strongly disagree. Very interesting, but the strongly disagree. It's not going to break. So this time is not different. We're going to continue doing this thing over and over and over, and the trend is your friend until the end, I guess. But we will see. Now, we do have a couple things we need to go through. First, we got some jewels coming up. Also, we have a super chat. So let's go ahead and bring these two things up on the screen. Thank you again, Holland, for those jewels. And then we got a super chat from Mr. Baby Years. All right.
Mr. Baby Years. Shout out to E. Appreciate you, E.
There you go. See, appreciate you. And just to be upfront, everybody that gets these super chats, it goes to the streamer. So if it came from Shook's community, it's going to Shook. If it came from Millie's, it's going to Millie's. So we are a non-profit. Thank you for that. Question 11. So a super chat just came in with this one. BB Beast Mode. He said, this is for you guys. Retail returns this cycle, propped up by the Fed policy and the Clarity Act. The trend of diminished returns in crypto is broken this cycle. This is kind of similar to what we just went through. But it's a little bit different. Let's go ahead and see what do you guys think about this? Shook.
I gotta agree.
Alrighty. My pen, of course, doesn't work. All right, what you got, Millie? It's a pretty long statement. So.
I agree.
Agree. 2 agrees. What you got, Jesse?
I got to disagree.
All right, disagree. Max?
You know, I'm going to strongly agree on that one, and it's in reference to something that Millie brought up last week, I think last Thursday.
All right, and then Doc.
I strongly agree, and mine's related to Fed policy.
All right, so both of y'all two strongly agree. Let's go ahead and give Max the floor, and then Doc, you'll go ahead and give that second take. And I definitely want to hear Jesse's take on this as well. So what you got, Max?
So I don't know, obviously. I don't have a crystal ball on when all this is going to happen. But Millie, shout out to you, brother. Last week, you brought up the whole thing of, like, for example, if we had just retail people having a lot more money on the sidelines, like would it be, you know, the war winding down or just not so much tension going on in the Middle East? Well, would people have a lot more money on the sideline? I think so. And then if we combine that with clarity, again, I don't know when that's going to happen, but if, let's say it did happen according to this question that's being laid out, then I do think you're going to bring in a lot of retail liquidity because they're going to have simply more money to spend on things. We see a lot of this money, currently speaking, going to, I should say too much, right? But you do see people still doing their gambling. They're going over to like Poly Market, they're going over to Kalshi, and they're doing the prediction market. So with that shift back to just like native crypto, I think so. And I think that's a great topic that you brought up, Millie, last, I think it was last Thursday when we did that. So yeah, I do think retail would return the cycle because let's face it, I mean, it's not like we're just talking about this month or next month, or we're talking about a whole cycle. So would that be propped up by Fed policy and the Clarity Act? Yeah, I definitely think so. And that in itself would equate to multi-billions because let's face it, retail is still the dominant force. That was a question we had earlier about institutions. So yeah, I kind of go back to that question. I don't know if it was question 2 or 3. That's my stance on it. Yes, 100%.
All right, Doc, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so a lot of great points, Max. I do think clarity does not get passed this year, but guess what? We have another election cycle year, 2028, which is in this cycle. So I think clarity could be some really, really good tailwinds for this. And then the other important thing is right now, the labor market, if you look at the JOLTS data, which is job openings and initial jobless claims, or excuse me, the JOLTS data, it's showing some weakening in the labor market, right? Unemployment, it still isn't at the part where we got to scream. Same with initial jobless claims, but the Main Street people, not Wall Street, but people on Main Street, they're starting to feel some crunches right now. So what happens if the labor market continues to hurt? Well, guess what? At some point, if the economy takes a downturn, which I'm kind of expecting could within the next year or two, the Fed will then lower rates. And guess what? High beta assets like Bitcoin love cheap money, right? We saw this in 2020 when we nuked the interest rates to practically zero, right? Low interest rates increases liquidity. The Fed starts to increase its balance sheet, and that is great for risk on assets. So it could be one of those things where we have to see a little bit of pain first, right? The next year or two could be tough. You know, there's a lot of geopolitical conflicts going on. Oil's high. I just talked about the 10-year rates. Well, guess what? Maybe those things break the market, and then in response to the market being broken, the Fed turns on the money printers. They lower rates. They increase the balance sheet, and we get ready for an awesome 2029. And then the last thing I'll say is, guys, Bitcoin, it did like a 7 or 8-ish X last cycle. We just saw everybody, this is fresh on everybody's memory, the SanDisks, right? The Microns rip this cycle. If traditional stocks can do that, so can Bitcoin and so can alts.
All right. Well, we just got another super chat from Rue. He wants us to go much longer, apparently, because he just threw up the greatest NFL receivers, Jerry Rice or Randy Moss. Jesse, I saw your response. You were the first one. You said Randy Moss. Number 88, shout out. That's where I actually wore those numbers when I used to play receiver. So, Jesse, I want to get your take more on this, not this wide receiver conversation, but this Clarity Act thing. And if you want to give a last take on that, you can with the receivers.
Yeah, sure. Let me first say about Moss that I'm a lifelong Vikings fan, good or bad. So
Right.
I saw Moss's rookie year, and he was unstoppable. If he was on Jerry's teams, he could have had even better numbers, maybe. So,
Okay. Taking shots. All right.
that's my take there. Now, regarding the question specifically, I have the hang up with the government. So, you know, I kind of feel like going into this presidential election, that crypto was given two bad choices, and it went with Trump. Okay. Now, that said, the first thing he did was get in office. He dropped his coin. You know what happened after that, right? Coinbase backed them big time, and I have not seen anything be delivered. Nothing's been delivered yet. So, you know, when they turned around and they said, yeah, we're going to make Bitcoin a reserve currency, everyone was like, hell yeah. And then they did nothing. Okay. The Clarity Act, here's another one where it's like, this is our one chance. We can get this thing going. It's been hung up the whole time. So this Congress that we have right now is a do nothing Congress that doesn't seem to do a whole lot of anything good for the actual people. And the people in this case is, you know, everybody in retail and crypto. And, you know, that's why it was baffling to me way back then that both parties didn't endorse this. And so my hang up specifically is, I don't know if it gets through Congress, through this administration. Maybe it takes a new one. Maybe that's when it happens.
Yeah, with the Trump administration, it was pretty interesting how we're supposed to keep on winning. And I don't know, we're supposed to be so tired of it. And he dropped a token, and we just didn't get the 2025 rally we really wanted. But there's a ton of people in the comments, and they're going after that super chat that we just skipped over. Jerry Rice says, Angel, that's one of my biggest supporters. Millie said, we are not going past this. We are not scrolling past it. Millie, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm gonna be quick, man, on the whole retail thing. I think that when those headwinds kind of clear up, I know Doc talked about the bond market. I would argue just the price of oil itself, right? I mean, when people feel like they have money again, that's going to flow into crypto. I mean, guys, we're in the age of hyper gamification. If you don't think liquidity is going to run fast in crypto, and this is not a shill, but we just had a Robinhood chain meme run to 200 million in the last couple of days, cash cat. And that doesn't do anything, by the way, not financial advice, but that's just an example of when money actually comes into this space, things are going to go parabolic. And I think that Walsh, he's going to be a little bit tight with what he does. I call it the demolition plan. He doesn't want to look like a duppy to Trump, but eventually, right, you know, the policy will become a little bit more, you know, soft for retail. And when that happens, I think that a lot of money is going to come into crypto. I mean, like I said, I still see people every day going to the gas station buying lotto tickets. I see people every day pulling up their phone, putting in slips for the prediction markets and things like that. So we're already in this form of survival, but all it takes is for things to feel a little bit more, you know, wealthy for these people. And a lot of that capital is going to go straight into crypto markets, financial markets, should I say.
All right. Well, you know, you guys gave some great takes. We're pushing up closer to 2 hours at this point. We have to give the crypto verdict. That's what everybody tuned in for. Some people stayed this entire time, and we have to give it. So, Rob, if you can go ahead and bring yourself up here, let's go ahead and have this discussion, because it's all about bringing Rob into the table and letting him have this floor where he can give his take on really who won the debates, who brought the most alpha to the conversations, who kept the crowd motivated. Rob, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I won. So we'll get that out of the way.
You always win, brother. Yep.
I always win. Yeah, all I do is win, right? No matter what.
Hey, bars.
So I got some notes to go through. We're gonna hurt some feelings here, okay? First up, I got Jesse here. ETH first movers advantage. I could not agree more with that. I think that the degree of separation between them and everything else, and it's all due at the end of the day to the SEC, right? The way that they strap rockets to the boots of Ethereum a few years back, holding XRP down. I gotta say, if that hadn't happened, would XRP be where Ethereum is right now, and vice versa? I don't know. But I gotta agree with Jesse's take on that, right? That was an artificial boost and kind of a head start for Ethereum. So they do have that first movers advantage as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real quick, Rob, can you and I just be on this camera just so we can talk to the people that are watching, and then bring everybody back up right after this? This is going to be something else we implemented to it. So good takes right there on the Ethereum and the XRP thing. XRP was clearly manipulated, but maybe it catches back up. We don't know if Ethereum hit that escape velocity yet. So the floor is yours.
Absolutely. As far as meme coins being good for crypto, I got to agree with Millie and Doc on this. I mean, the fact that they have, like we already kind of talked about this, right? There wouldn't have been a bull run like there was for altcoins in 2021, in my opinion, had the craze not started. I had so many people that knew nothing about crypto coming up to me and asking me about Dogecoin, that it was ridiculous, right? Same thing with Shiba Inu. So I think that was it is a net positive in my opinion. And as I said before, just as many people have been wrecked on utility plays as meme coins throughout the course and history of the crypto market, in my opinion, right? From projects making promises they didn't follow through on, to rugging their holders, so on and so forth. So exploit, whatever it might be.
Yeah, for sure. Like those meme coins are some of them that are holding up much better. Dogecoin actually outperformed Bitcoin. You know, in the last bull market, did like a 9x from 5 cents to 45 cents. So these meme coins, you know, some of them will rug you, but some of the best projects that you heard of, like a Terra Luna, also rug you. So
100%. Institutions, most important driver. I got to disagree with that. I think no. I think that retail coming in, and they will come in, and this ties into something a little bit later on that you guys were talking about, and that is, simply put, what keeps people away from crypto in general, whether it's the average retail investor that's not here yet or institutions. That would be uncertainty. And I think that the 2025 cycle was stifled because of all of that uncertainty. There's a lot of nuance to what happened over the course of the last 4 years. And a lot of you know, on a geopolitical level, we had wars breaking out, we had uncertainty with an election, we had tariffs, and it just seemed like every time we had the green light for the market to go, there was something that swatted it back down again to cause uncertainty. And I got to go agree with what Millie had said off the top of my head, that when you do get that certainty and stuff like that, and people feel like they have money again, they're going to go degen.
yeah, I mean, you're 100% right on that. You know, definitely not disagreeing there.
I got to give it to Max ripping on Drake, and I agree with him 100%. I mean, Eminem, man, right? You can't overlook Eminem.
Yeah, during the late 90s, early 2000s, man, that dude was unstoppable. He was tearing apart families. Yeah.
I feel like he still would be if he was putting the effort in. He's not even trying anymore. He's just putting out these things where he's just like,
Yeah, it's too high of like if I'm just trying to enjoy life, I'm just chilling at the pool. I'm not trying to think. Eminem makes you think. The bars are just too much. Like I don't want to have like a quadruple entendre thrown on me. I'm just trying to chill.
But M for me is a throwback to like the Tupac days where rappers were actually telling stories in their songs instead of just saying words.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, that was definitely a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. I was laughing at that one. TAO 7X. I got to give a shout out to our guy because he's not here. Rue, Near, man. I got to give Near a special shout out there. I know he's watching. So I'm going to say it for him because I know he would say it if he was here. And you know what? I really, really liked Millie's points when it came to the subnets on TAO. So shout out to Millie on that one for sure. Any response to
that? No. You got any more notes, or are we ready to give the crypto verdict? Or
yeah, I got a few more.
Okay.
More. Just the NFTs won't come back. Shook and Millie. I agree. They're going to come back, but not like they were in 2021. They're going to come back in the form of a utility, like concert tickets, like mortgages, things like that, with actual utility. That's what NFTs are going to be. They're not going to come back like the NFTs of pet rocks and stuff like Jesse was saying, right? So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. We will see. So the NFT, that's like super speculative, man. Like, you got meme coins, and then you got something even more speculative, and that would be NFTs.
Well, listen, if NFTs were to come back like 2021, this market will have had to have gone so ridiculously parabolic to make people feel like they have stupid money to buy pet rock NFTs again. That would have to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Top ISO 20022 coin. Shout out to Zebek. Listen. Stellar is going to be a contender as well.
Yeah, those are some good names. XRP, Stellar, Zebic. For sure.
Almost done. 4-year cycle broken? No. Not in my opinion. I agree with what Max was saying if I was interpreting what he was trying to get across properly. I don't think Bitcoin is going to break the 4-year cycle anytime soon. I do think that strong utility plays are going to start to break away from the 4-year cycle, but I think that largely the asset class led by Bitcoin is going to continue with the 4-year cycle as those ones break away.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to take time.
Fair enough. Yeah, Doc actually just said in our private chat, he just said, Rob with some W takes here. Maybe he's trying to butter you up because one of these guys is about to get the floor, so we will see.
Millie had some great points on it as well. Doc had some good points. However, talking about a recession during the 4-year cycle is not going to stop the 4-year cycle. COVID-19, the entire world's economy shutting down for 2 years did not stop the 4-year cycle. A recession in one country is definitely not going to stop the 4-year cycle, in my opinion. There's always nuance in 4-year cycles. Things that happen cause crashes, cause pumps. Recession, boom, V-shaped recovery. 4-year cycle still plays out, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened multiple times. Nothing. The 4-year cycle is undefeated. We've been through a couple things, maybe not like a depression, but we've been through some tough times, and we always come out on top. So,
yeah, but I do give Doc credit for the argument, though. It's very, very. I haven't heard many people argue that. So, Millie also had some great points there, like I said. And as far as retail coming back, I kind of touched on it already. I believe retail is going to come back because this market's going to go crazier than people think this cycle. And the reason I think that is because the narrative going into this cycle is that by most content creators, there will be no altcoin season. They'll look back at the 2025 cycle and say, that killed the altcoin seasons. There's not going to be any anymore. That'll be the majority of people what they'll be saying, which means altcoin season is going to take everybody by surprise.
Yeah, good takes. Good takes. Doc's still in the background. He's throwing me off. Trying to butter you up. He wants that last moment, so we will see. But who do you have for the crypto verdict? Like who won this show, Rob?
This was a tough one, man. This was a tough one, but you know what? I got to give it to Millie this time.
Millie. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. We'll bring Millie up. Millie, you can give your last pitch, brother, and then we'll bring everybody else back up. So,
nah, salute to everybody that was on here, man. Thank you, Rob. I definitely appreciate that, man. Y'all guys got a wonderful thing going, and like anytime, man. Like I said, I love to see more content creators collabing and really, you know, putting their minds out there and kind of like battle test it. So this is something that I come in and actually look forward to. As far as the viewers, man, please like try to stay a sponge, stay green so you can grow. I wish when I got into crypto, I had people around me like this that can kind of like help me along the journey. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is more so our experience and our journey. And you kind of like learning from our mistakes along the way. And to just piggyback on some of the great thoughts that they were saying, regardless on where the cycle starts or begin, from some of the biggest books I've always read, you know what I mean? Have patience, but assets, you know, outpace wages, man. So this is not, you know, if you stumbled across this show, you stumbled across crypto, you couldn't pick a better time. You feel me? And this is, in my opinion, some of the, you know, the greatest, you know, positions and opportunities for you to actually put your positions together, man. So do your research, kind of like, you know, listen to what we're saying, and then go find your own strategies and create your own recipes. Other than that, follow my channel, Crypto Millie, and I appreciate everybody that's part of the panel.
All right. So I typically say that everybody should find at a minimum 5 to 10 different creators that you really resonate with and contrast ideas. And the beautiful part about this is we bring it all here at the Crypto Verdict, all in one space where you can get all the different debates, the crypto hot takes, and I'm loving it. So we are one of the fastest growing channels here. All of these different people that are coming on as contestants, we have our socials down there. So make sure you drop a subscribe and definitely like this, share it with somebody. And then also in the comments, go ahead and throw who you want to see here on the Crypto Verdict in the next round. So we will be back on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am the host. We will have Longview Compute hosting on that one. So make sure you tune in for that one, as we're trying to push a little diversification in terms of who you see here. It's a nonprofit, it's decentralized, and it's a crypto show to bring education to the masses. And without further ado, you guys have a blessed day. Peace.